This is CBC Here and Now.
Indigenous groups on the island portion of the province signed an MOU today with the Newfoundland and Labrador Health Authority.
The memorandum is signed, the discussions have taken place, action is required.
I'm Colleen Connors, and I'll have more on that tonight.
I'm Layla Baudouin, and coming up, a blizzard beneath the ocean's surface and how it might help us in the fight against climate change.
We have a new opportunity to push and bring this space and this community into the future.
The foundation that owns the Basilica is rebranding. We'll tell you what that means coming up on Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. We begin on the West Coast, where the province's health authority is taking steps to improve and expand Indigenous health care. In Corner Brook, 2 Indigenous governments signed a memorandum of understanding with NL Health Services. Here and Now's Colleen Connors breaks it all down for us tonight.
History was made in a conference room in downtown Corner Brook today when Mi'alpekek First Nation, Halibut First Nation, and the province's health authority agreed to change how Indigenous groups receive and experience health care in Newfoundland and Labrador.
I think about the impacts as a young mother myself, walking into a hospital to bring life into the world and feeling like I had to leave my culture outside the door. This is something that will change that. It will change healthcare from the beginning of life to the end of life.
NL Health Services CEO Pat Parfrey says this MOU is one of the most important things to come out of the Health Accord. It's been discussed for years and formalized today by this symbolic signing. But he says this is just the start of all the practical work that's yet to come.
Well, we need it because the health outcomes of Indigenous people are far, far worse than those people who are non-Indigenous. The data is absolutely clear, and our health care delivery systems for Indigenous people are deficient. And in particular, we have problems with the ambulance system, with family cares, with the long-term care and personal care homes, with mental health, with public health. They're all areas that there are deficiencies that we need to rectify.
Rectifying comes in the form of things like improving virtual care in northern Labrador and providing more beds for patients in the new hospital in Corner Brook. Things the Health Authority will need to act on fast, says Parfrey. As for the Health Minister, Leela Evans, this MOU means a cultural, educational shift in the doctor's office.
Because a lot of times an Indigenous person come in with a health issue and they leave without actually having those needs addressed because there's a failure to recognize what's being said and basically get an understanding of what the overall problem is.
Evans, who's been in opposition for 7 years, hopes to see big changes starting today. So does Halibut Chief Jenny Brake.
Well, I hope that it changes outcomes for Indigenous people because intergenerational trauma exists and it really impacts the health of our Indigenous people in this province, whether it be addictions, mental health, diabetes. There's so many factors that impact Indigenous people in this province, and I hope that we get to a day where we don't really have to look so much to the Accord. We don't have to think about that because we're all on an equal playing field. We're all healthy, we're all happy, and we all understand one another. My children can go to a hospital. You know, someday my daughters can deliver their babies and they don't have to leave their culture outside the door.
Innu and Inuit groups in Labrador will also sign this MOU at a later date, with the health authorities saying that they will cater to the needs of each individual Indigenous group in this province. Colleen Connors, CBC News, Corner Brook.
Staying with healthcare, there's an outbreak of tuberculosis in Labrador. The Health Authority and Nunatsiavut government say the outbreak is within the Labrador Inuit settlement area. Officials have been conducting contact tracing to identify potential new cases. Symptoms of tuberculosis include persistent cough, fever, night sweats, and weight loss. Anyone who experiences symptoms should contact their local community clinic or public health nurse. Well, now to some news from the courts. Forensics have been at the forefront this week in the Tony Humby trial. Today, a DNA expert from the RCMP's crime lab testified about their analysis of evidence seized from Humby's home. Rob Antle has the details.
Tony Humby was arrested in April of 2023 and has been behind bars ever since. 2 months after Humby was arrested, a 4-member RNC forensic team descended on his trailer in the east end of St. John's. They spent a week there gathering evidence that was sent to the RCMP's crime lab. On Thursday, DNA expert Florence Celestin took the stand by video link from Ottawa. Celestin testified that DNA found on a couch in Humby's trailer was 35 quadrillion times more likely to have come from a complainant in the case than from someone selected at random in the Canadian Caucasian population. A quadrillion is the number 1, followed by 15 zeros. Earlier in the trial, that complainant testified he was a youth living in a group home when he was sexually assaulted by Humby in the trailer. Another DNA sample found on a bedspread was linked to the same teen and to Humby himself. Celestin simplified the science, saying that it's way more likely that the complainant's profile is included in this mixture, but Humby's profile is also very much likely included in that mixture as well. On cross-examination, defense lawyer Mark Rushy pointed out that finding someone's DNA somewhere doesn't definitively prove they were there. The expert agreed, saying she can't say how or when DNA gets somewhere, just that it is there. Rob Antle, CBC News, St. John's.
Now to some politics. Premier Tony Wakeham is in Ottawa this week talking energy and nation-building projects. Wakeham met with Prime Minister Mark Carney yesterday and made the case for the proposed Bay du Nord offshore development. The CBC's David Cochrane asked the Premier about his meeting with Carney on power and politics.
So the conversation today with the Prime Minister was about, okay, what's the role the federal government can play here? Because I believe the federal government has a role to play. We talked about the opportunity for an investment tax credit that was there before, what that might look like, and the idea about being a partner, because it's about partnership with the federal government, partnership with the province, and partnership with Equinor. David, I really feel that Equinor wants to move forward with this project, and there's a willingness to do that, and we've got to work with them to see how we make that happen.
But did you get a commitment on the projects list, or did you get a commitment on the investment tax credit from the Prime Minister today or his staff?
Well, he's taken that away. Obviously, he didn't make any commitments today, but what I got a sense from him, though, was a sense of a commitment that he's definitely interested in promoting an oil policy idea, what we had talked about getting back in the oil business. That's the way I phrased it up the other day. And I believe that he's looking to do that as well. He's talked about that. You know, that's the first time we've had a federal government in a long time talk about being in the oil business. And so it's good to hear that. And I look forward to making things happen.
Staying with the oil business, this news comes as new data is projecting that the majority of current oil workers in Newfoundland and Labrador will have reached retirement age by 2050. The CBC's Adam Walsh has more on what that means for the future of the industry.
For a province known for oil production, here's a number for you. By 2050, it's expected that 80% of existing oil workers in Newfoundland and Labrador will have reached the age of retirement. That is from the Centre for Future Work and Economics Research Institute. They also say that by 2050, most oil use will have disappeared. So what does that mean for the future of this province's economy?
We've seen a lot of transformations of our economy over the years, right? You know, people will think about the cod moratorium, for example, in the 90s, what that meant for workers in that industry. But I see our economy changing, industries changing now, and the need for us to be prepared for those changes. So when I think about a just transition, I think about taking care of people, and that's what the Federation of Labor has always been about. And so in the context of climate change, we've been talking more and more over the past few years about how do we get our workers ready for that transition? How do we ensure we have the right safeguards in place to support people through to retirement? How do we make sure that any new jobs that are created in renewable industries are good jobs with good union wages and benefits?
Economist Jim Stanford spoke to me about the road ahead, and he believes the renewable energy industry will likely bring more jobs.
There's 98% of the rest of the economy in everything from construction to non-fossil mining to transportation to manufacturing to services. These are places that are actually going to do, I think, most of the heavy lifting in future job creation. And as long as the overall economy is growing and the population in Newfoundland and Labrador is growing again, that helps a lot. We're going to see jobs in all kinds of sectors. So it's not just a question of, taking an oil worker and putting them in a new role, installing a windmill. There's all kinds of connections and options as the economy evolves, so long as we're investing and growing and creating jobs as we go.
Part of the focus for the future of this province's economy is zooming in on Labrador West. I spoke with steelworker Mike Furlong, who told me they're a community and they want to stay a community. But if housing doesn't keep up, if infrastructure doesn't keep up, if programs don't keep up, the community could be at risk.
We're a community, a very strong, close-knit community, and we've seen what happens when we do not grow at an acceptable pace. We have a sister community next door in Fermont, and that one, they have accepted fly in and fly out about 15 years ago, and the community's being gutted. It's now just essentially becoming a camp. I mean, a lot of the children that they used to have viable sports programs there, they're now moving over to Labrador West, and we're glad to take them, but the cautionary tale that comes from the Metalos in Fermont is you have to grow. If not, you're going to lose your community, and we're just going to be a camp.
Furlong told me Labrador West is ready to become a major industrial center. They just need the support to get the job done. Adam Walsh, CBC News, St. John's.
The Basilica Heritage Foundation is changing its name and its goal. The group owns the iconic Basilica Cathedral in downtown St. John's, and they're planning to open the doors to a wider community.
Many people will remember it as, or will know it as, the Basilica Heritage Foundation. And we've officially changed our name, and the old name often made people think of this place and this parish and this block as not an active parish or an active part of the downtown scene. And so this is still very much an active place, and we wanted a name that, first of all, reflected that, and second of all, in April 2024, we were part of the winning bid that purchased the Basilica block. So our role drastically changed at that time. So we wanted a name that reflects our new responsibilities and also our new opportunities. We have a new logo that is really vibrant, and it's distinct and separate from the Archdiocese and the Basilica Parish because we are separate. We work hand in hand with them. And we wanted something that reflected the power and the beauty of this incredible space. And anyone who's been to the Basilica knows the incredible stained glass work we have here. Our role and our goal is both practical and visionary. We need to make sure that we have a new roof. We need to make sure that the stained glass windows I just spoke about are maintained. We need to make sure all of the facilities management of this whole entire block is maintained. We also, however, really want to open up our doors. One of the incredibly, I'll say, underrated parts of the Basilica block, everyone knows the cathedral itself, is the Palace Commons, which was once the Archbishop's palace. And so we're really working to open that space up for rentals, for community groups, for artists, and really create a new community hub here at Basilica Block.
Is there a lot of pressure on your organization given the notoriety and how famous the Basilica and the Palace next door are and the school? Is a lot of pressure for you guys to get this right?
We don't view it as pressure, we view it as an opportunity. I like to say, as strange of a contradiction as this may sound, that we're kind of a heritage startup right now. We've been around since 1855, but now we have a new opportunity to push and bring this space and this community into the future. So pressure? No. Opportunity? Yes.
Final stone.
Brad Gushew's last chance for Olympic glory was dashed last night. The St. John's skip didn't get the win he wanted. We'll have more later.
Well, the weather's been a little bit unsettled today. We've got some snow moving towards the northern peninsula and then some milder air actually as we head through the night tonight. We will continue to see that snow push north up across parts of Labrador. Then another round of rain will move in as we head through tomorrow afternoon for the east. And then we've got a big cool down next week. I'll get into all of that coming up a little later.
on Friday, December 5th. Join CBC.
Well, a St. John's man on trial for manslaughter was arrested outside Supreme Court today. 56-year-old Desmond Downey was charged with manslaughter in the 2022 death of 71-year-old Douglas Hunt. Downey was arrested by police here as he arrived for his trial this morning. Police say he's been charged with intimidating a witness. Downey has been released on bail but is now back in custody. He's expected to appear in provincial court on allegations that he breached court orders. Downey allegedly hit Douglas Hunt in the head in March 2022. The province's chief medical officer testified that Hunt died because of a blunt force injury that broke his neck and led to a massive brain bleed. Lawyers were expected to give their summations today, but Downey's trial has now been set over to December 9th. Well, 'tis the season to talk about snow. While some parts of the province have already had to break out their shovels and scrapers, one scientist is taking a deep look at how snow behaves underwater in the Labrador Sea and how it could help fight climate change. The CBC's Leila Baudouin reports.
In a way, we are separating the sinking particles that are at the bottom of the marine snow catcher from the non-sinking particles by waiting for 2 hours.
Ocean scientist Uta Passot collects snow using these marine snow catchers out on the Labrador Sea with a team from Memorial's Ocean Science Centre.
If you have an underwater light, you have all these white things falling.
Think of snow falling, but beneath the ocean's surface. Marine snow, a hot topic in the climate change community because of the role it plays in the ocean's carbon cycle.
And so marine snow is really important as one way of moving carbon, food, lipids, organisms, carbohydrates, proteins to the deep ocean. So there's an exchange between these carbon pools, these reservoirs between the atmosphere, the ocean, and the land. And so the carbon cycle of the ocean is a part of the bigger whole, the whole organism. Relying on the floor, right? So the same trap.
Carbon is everywhere, but Passot says the ocean is underrated in its natural carbon cycle. Turns that fallen organic matter like plankton into carbon as sediment, trapping it through the biological carbon pump.
Then, in a way, it is removed from the atmosphere. And without these processes, the concentrations of CO2 in the atmosphere would be a lot higher now.
Working with marine scientists around the world, Passot is adding to what we know about this natural cycle that removes carbon for 10,000 years or more. Not a climate change stopper, but a process worth watching and protecting as emission targets above water are more murky.
As humans, we find it very hard to actually perceive the ocean directly, right? We can look on land, we see trees bloom or flower or plants flower and trees lose their leaves, but we can't see these things in the ocean. And this mystery of it has always really fascinated me.
Passot has to wait until spring to check her carbon captures, now bobbing in the Labrador Sea, where deep, deep below the surface, nature is trapping carbon at the bottom of the ocean. Leila Baudouin, CBC News, Logie Bay.
Coming up on Friday, December 5th, join CBC for a full day of special broadcasting right across the province as we help to make the season kind, all in support of local food banks. In St. John's, we're going to be live right here in Bannerman Brewing all day, starting with the St. John's Morning Show, then it's The Signal, and then On the Go. Plus, special broadcasts in Gander at the Tim Hortons on Airport Road, in Corner Brook at the Feed Market and Cafe, and in Happy Valley Goose Bay, drop by the CBC parking lot for the annual Turkey Drive. You can help make the season kind in your community. Learn how at cbc.ca/kindnl.
All right, time for a look at the weather, and lots of rain at times in the east here today.
Yeah, and foggy too. That's generally going to continue as we head through tonight. The fog will anyway. Actually, most of us will be seeing some showers through the night. But let's take a look at what's going on. We've got a couple of areas of low pressure, one with a warm front. That's why we're seeing that rain at the moment. And then we've got another area of low pressure back to the west. And essentially these two are going to head north as we head through at least the night tonight and into the day tomorrow. But if I zoom out across the country, we've got some colder air that's starting to filter its way further south, and that is eventually going to make its way our way as we head through the day or through next week. So we can see that this actually is going to set the stage, at least where the jet stream is going to set the stage for a fairly active weather pattern as we head through the middle of next week. So definitely keep that in mind. But we'll just follow that cold air. Eventually we'll see a little bit of a dip in that jet stream, bringing that colder air over Quebec. And then as we get into Tuesday, we'll start to see some of that colder air up across parts of Labrador. So we're talking about overnight lows dipping into the minus 20s and daytime highs likely in the minus teens. So that will continue pretty much through Wednesday. Eventually we'll see some relief from that by the time we get into late on Thursday. Now, as far as what's happening right now, that warm front is advancing north. Out ahead of that, we're seeing some snow for the northern peninsula, Green Bay, White Bay area. That's almost said and done, at least for your area. Eventually, this will continue to push north over the next couple of hours, and we will see that end. And we can see those temperatures in behind it are actually warming up. Burgeo went from 5 degrees to 6 degrees in the last hour. And that warm air is going to move further north as well. So that will change the snow over for the northern peninsula over to some drizzle and eventually end through the night tonight. And we will eventually see those conditions, already seeing some clearing now on the south coast. But we'll continue to see that through the night tonight. Here's the future tracker. You can see that over the next couple of hours heading further north, then eventually pushing into Labrador through the overnight as well. That will head towards the coast as we get through the overnight. Now along the Strait and the northern peninsula, you are going to see this eventually taper off, tapering to drizzle through the night by the time we get into tomorrow morning. And we'll start to see some clearing again for the southwestern corner of the island. Now, how much snow is left to fall? Well, we could see upwards of about 5 centimeters of snow for the northern peninsula. It'll be really wet snow. And then for parts of Labrador as well, generally 5 to 10 centimeters. Higher elevations may see a little bit more than that. And where towards the coast, where you see this change over to drizzle at times, your amounts will be significantly less. Here's your overnight lows tonight. Again, they are going to warm up. We should be sitting by morning about 6 degrees in St. John's. And then temperatures pretty much everywhere else will hover a couple of degrees above zero with the exception of the northern peninsula. Then for Labrador, minus single digits, minus double digits in Lab West, where you will sit around minus 11. And your winds will ease as we head through the night tonight. Now, coastal areas of Labrador, as well as the west coast of the island, you're looking at your winds either out of the southwest or east, somewhere between 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. So tomorrow, we will see a fairly nice day for the western half of the island, and then generally staying cloudy with the chance of rain again as we head into the afternoon for the eastern portion of the island, and then eventually as we head to late afternoon rather, and the evening hours, parts of central, we'll see some shower activity as well. For Labrador, the west and the north will continue to see some snow. Likely see some clearing skies into the afternoon as well for southeastern portions of Labrador. But as we head into the afternoon and evening, again, more cloud cover moving in, the potential for some showers and even some flurries in the mix for the west coast, really even through central as we head through the overnight as well. That will generally continue as we head into Saturday as we see some cooler air move in. Daytime highs tomorrow will range from 3 to 7 degrees with those winds generally out of the southwest, somewhere between 30 to 40 kilometers per hour. And then for Labrador, you're looking at single digits on the plus side of the mercury for the southeast, about 3 or 4 degrees, otherwise near zero. And then well below zero in Lab West between -7 and -8. Like I said, there is much colder air coming in and also the potential for some more rain for the island. I'll get into all the details coming up a little later.
Well, Brad Gushew's dream of returning to the Olympics ended last night in a heartbreaking moment.
Final stone. Will this be the win? With 3 and 10 for Gushew to put himself in to the semifinal. We'll find out now. Brad Gushew as the crowd comes alive. Nichols on it. Nichols staying with it. Can you get your 3? Bang, bang. No, he pumped it through the middle. He went right through the middle.
Howl of the crowd and the look of anguish on Gushew's face. That was a tough moment for Team Gushew in that must-win game for Canada's Olympic trials in Halifax. And Brad Gushew joins me now from Halifax. So, Brad, I think everyone watching could just feel your pain last night. A disappointing loss for sure. How are you holding up today?
I'm better today. Certainly not great. Obviously, you're replaying everything that happened throughout the game, not only the last shot, things we could have changed and that may have had an impact on the results. So, that's going to happen for a couple days. But as time goes on, you move on and you create different memories. So, we'll be fine. But certainly, the last 24 hours have been a challenge for us and disappointing.
So, yeah, a little bit of time to sort of process that moment. Can you talk us through what happened in that final shot, in those final moments there?
Yeah, we had a triple takeout. It was not the toughest shot in the world, but certainly not the easiest. We had to be pretty precise to make it for 3. It was a pretty easy shot to make it for 2 points, but in the situation we were in, we felt we had to go for 3 because in the extra end, we felt like Team Jacobs would have had a huge advantage with the hammer. So we played it aggressive, tried to go for 3 points. And, I remember watching it go down the sheet and I was calling for us to continue to sweep. And we got off the sweep for just a moment. You probably seen in the replay that Mark just stopped sweeping. And as soon as he did, the rock just curled that extra inch and allowed it to go through the hole. And, we didn't have to move those yellow rocks very far, but unfortunately, it didn't make it, and it kind of ended our Olympic dream this time around. So a pretty disappointing result, but, there was other shots we missed throughout the game, and I certainly felt Team Jacobs outplayed us from the start to the finish of that game, but, we did a pretty good job to give ourselves a chance to win in that last end.
Yeah, we have seen you through so many wonderful victories, the height of victories over the years, and then also those devastating losses like we saw last night. We've seen you go through both. When you were kind of crouched down on the ice there and you had your head in your hands, what was going through your mind in that moment?
The first thought was just the fact that we missed the shot and really the whole way down the sheet, it looked like we had it made. So, it was just the shock and disappointment of missing the shot because, I felt like I threw it really well and gave it a good chance to be made and a little bit of shock, to be honest, because generally when I feel like I throw it that good, we end up making it. So it was that initial shock. And then right after that, it kind of hit me, okay, now that dream is done and it'll be my last time playing in the Olympic trials. All that emotion started to come in and certainly once it, that shot was finished and people started to give us a standing ovation, the emotion started to kick in and, it was tough for the rest of that evening. There was frustration, there was some anger in missing the shot, but there was also some appreciation for how people treated us after that moment.
You have so many fans, so many supporters, and you could really hear it in the arena last night. And you mentioned the standing ovation there, and it sounded like everyone yelled no during that final shot.
Yeah.
What do you want to say to your fans?
We're so appreciative of all the support we've gotten over the years, and we're so fortunate to be so well supported. Like all the other teams, they kind of envy the support that we have, and the people across the country and certainly within our province have been behind us for such a long period of time. And it makes it a lot easier in moments like this to have the support and get the messages that we received today, or the pats on the back when I was out and about just walking around Halifax today. It makes it, it makes it better for sure. So I want to thank all of our supporters. I want to apologize for not playing our best this week, or certainly not giving ourselves as good a chance to win as well we would have liked. But we put in the max effort to be as good as we could this week, and it just didn't pan out. And that's the nature of sports. Unfortunately, you fail a whole lot more than you succeed, but you got to keep giving those attempts. And, we've been fortunate enough to come up on the right side of it, a lot of times, but this time we're on the wrong side.
Still so much to look forward to. The Briar in your hometown in St. John's, coming up in February. What are your hopes for that competition?
Well, ultimately, we want to win. That's what we go into every event that we play in trying to achieve. That's one of the two big events that we had circled on our calendar this year. And obviously, the trials here this week was one, and the Briar is the next. And with not being successful here this week, we get to shift our focus right now and 100% to the Briar. I think for us, that week will be a success just playing well. Like sometimes when you're at this level, it can't be just all about winning, because you do need some luck. You do need the right timing, and you can play as good as you can. And if you get a bad break, you don't end up winning. So, you control what you can control. And for us, that's just going out and playing as well as we can, doing the right things, making sure our training between now and the Briar is as strong as it can be. So that's what we're going to try and do. And, if we succeed in all that, I think the Briar, no matter how it turns out, will be a success. But personally, I want to enjoy that experience as much as I can. I know it's going to be a very emotional journey for me. I know it's going to be a stressful week, but I want to find a way to enjoy it. And certainly I want to find a way to play as well as I'm capable of playing.
And no doubt it will be emotional for all the fans of Team Gauju as well. Looking forward to that Briar for sure. Brad Gauju, thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
As we mentioned earlier in the show, Premier Tony Wakeham is in Ottawa this week, meeting with federal officials and discussing nation-building projects. Still, so many questions around one major energy project. Of course, that's the development of Churchill Falls and Gull Island. Premier Wakeham spoke with the CBC's David Cochrane about those projects and his plans to set up an independent review of that agreement.
We have a number of discussions ongoing. I have been looking over a number of different resumes from different, what I think could be useful in doing this review. We're currently developing in terms of reference.
Like big energy companies, like energy analysts?
No, I think what I'm looking at is a three-person panel similar to what was there before in a different format. I think you clearly need someone with the economics background, the financial background, and the energy background. So those are the type of things we're looking at. But what's important for me here, and that came back to the discussion with the Prime Minister today, was to talk about what the opportunities are. When that MOU was signed back in December, we think about what's happened already since then in terms of changes, in terms of, the tariffs in the U.S.,
Sure.
the opportunities. The Prime Minister talked about, an energy corridor across Canada. And and we talked about at that time, there was talk about, a pipeline going from west to east, and then we start thinking about, well, what else can we do in terms of, can we have a corridor for hydroelectricity to go from east to west? Well, one of the things I think that also was, for too long in our province of Newfoundland and Labrador, we thought of our resources as something to sell.
Sure.
And I want to look at them as something that we can use and develop.
This three-person panel you're talking about, are you talking about like people from home, or because there are big global firms that study these things and can give you an assessment
there? At global firms or anything like that. I think my commitment is to try and get this done as quickly as we can with the terms of reference that are as appropriate to look at. And it's about, how do I make sure that we're not simply repeating history? Wayne Gretzky had a line that he said, I will skate to where the puck is going,
right,
not where it has been. And I look at this as a project, do I want to sign up for another 50 years? What have we actually looked at? What have we explored? What were the other options we considered, if any? And when I think about those things, and you and I can talk about all this, about with data centers, and think about what we have in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. So I think it's important for us to make sure I get this right.
Just on the timelines here, you're looking at the idea of a three-person review panel. Well, when will that be appointed? What is the horizon for the review to be done? Because you've also promised to put this to a referendum. And I assume that is still your plan, that this goes to a referendum of the people back home. It's what's the timeline for
the first thing we have to do is, and we will get the terms of reference done, get the panel announced, and let them do the work. And I have said that they will have access to all the information they need. They will have the resources they need to be able to do this work. And what I intend to do is make the recommendations that they come forward public, so people can understand exactly what was done. And then we go from there and see what that looks like.
First quarter of next year?
I would hope that it can be done, absolutely. Within, we're looking at a 90-day window, 3-month window.
Okay. And what about the referendum, Premier?
And then that will depend upon what the report shows us and what the review tells us.
Whether you have one or what the timing of it would be?
Well, I think it's a combination of both. I think it depends on what the referendum says, how quickly we can go. Depending on what that review tells us, it will determine how quickly we can move forward.
Okay, but I just want to make sure I'm not misunderstanding you, because it was like the day the election started back in September, you said you're going to put it to a referendum.
We intend
you
to
are
do that.
Going to do that?
We intend to do that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, for those south of the border, today is American Thanksgiving, which has been celebrated here by the local American Legion for decades. But tonight marks the first year that a longtime attendee won't be there. American Vietnam War veteran David Stinson passed away earlier this year. His daughter and the commander of the local American Legion spoke with the CBC's Jen White.
We celebrate Thanksgiving Day with the traditional turkey dinner, just the same as if we were all home. But we have about 126 people coming tonight, and the kids play bingo, and they have all kinds of raffles and games, and besides dinner, and we actually give out a scholarship every year. And this year we are having a first. We're having twins. Thanksgiving in the American culture is more important than Christmas. Because
Really?
it's families and everybody getting together. It's the family feeling that you're looking for. That's why we have our Legion family.
Oh, my father, Dave Stinson, First Sergeant David Stinson Sr., my father passed away in March, so this American Thanksgiving is even more important to our family because it's a first, and we want to honor my dad. And it's actually my niece and nephew who are receiving the scholarship. So it's really important. My dad would have been so proud. So we want to keep the tradition going. We always everybody went to Thanksgiving dinner here, who was here and in the family and with their spouses, partners, girlfriends, boyfriends. And it was the one time, I think, guaranteed that we would all be together.
Dave was a retired Marine, and he was definitely a Marine. He had an interesting background in Vietnam. He's a very highly decorated Marine.
Mm.
He is, I think I forget this right, it was a Silver Star.
Yeah, my father received a Silver Star and presidential citation from President Lyndon Johnson for 2 tours of duty for valency and bravery.
Wow.
So he truly was a real life hero.
How many of these suppers have you been having now since the American Post has been here?
We've been thinking about this the last couple of days, and we can trace them back as far as the mid-50s.
Wow.
They've been going on. They may have been earlier, but we're not sure.
And what is your favorite part about going to this American Thanksgiving celebration?
It's getting everybody together.
Now to Labrador. The Labrador Creative Arts Festival is ongoing this week, and among the wide array of events was an acting workshop this morning, and the CBC stopped by to chat with some of the students.
I think it is so cool to be a part of the 50th anniversary of the Labrador Creative Arts Festival. It really lets me bring out a different side of myself, a more creative, passionate, just fun person.
I'm doing something. I'm ready to hit a home run.
Hi, I'm Cameron Wilcox. I'm an actor based out of St. John's currently. I was born and raised here in Goose Bay, and I fell in love with acting here at the festival, and I'm so glad to be back sharing my love of acting with these kids. This workshop, it was a lot of theater games, a lot of warming up and getting the kids comfortable, getting them out of your shells. Someone is calling out an action, and you got to try your best to mime it on stage. We had people rolling on the floor. We had people acting like they're robbing a bank, and it's all about getting out of your comfort zone and trying something new, because you'll never know how far you can go until you try.
The workshop was fun. He included everyone and made everyone try out different actions. He also showed us that sometimes you don't need to talk for people to understand what you're doing. Whenever you have an opportunity, just go for it, because sometimes you know you're actually good at something.
I found the workshop really fun. I had a couple good laughs. It was really energetic. There was so much good vibes, and I just loved it, and I wish I was here to do it again next year.
I can't even put into words how magical, how wonderful it is to be back for the 50th. And I can only hope and pray they'll have me again some other year, because this has been more than I could have imagined. It's been a blast.
It's on our own, guys. We wouldn't be acting anymore. Anybody else?
Oh. There you go. You can read this with me. Sure. Yes, London's 9th annual Gingerbread City exhibition is welcoming guests with a delicious display.
In terms of the structure itself, it's entirely gingerbread, there's no other support. We use charcoal powder within, so there's 15 teaspoons worth of charcoal powder in total. There's 2 kilograms of treacle, over 1 kilogram of butter, so it's an awful lot of food.
There's 50 gingerbread constructions, with each building designed by architects. It features creative spins on many iconic London landmarks like the Big Ben. This year's theme was play and focused on a playful take on urban life. The exhibit runs until January of next year. Then what happens to it, I wonder? It looks delicious. After a year.
No, I wouldn't touch that.
But it does look good.
Yeah.
It does look good. Have you ever made like gingerbread?
I love gingerbread.
Me too.
I haven't done it in years though, but I used to do that like every year I would do a gingerbread house.
Yeah.
I used to love baking. I don't get around to it very often, but.
Makes me want to make one.
Yeah, maybe I will this year. I'm just gonna go get one.
All right, well, let's talk about, you mentioned the weekend. We're gonna look at the long range forecast. How is the weekend looking? And we should mention there's the parade that's coming up in St. John's on Sunday too. So
Yeah, that's right.
folks will be wondering how things are looking for that.
Yeah, we're certainly going to talk about that, but we definitely have some weather to get through before we get there. But it's looking a little snowy in some cases. Let's take a look at what's going on for your Friday night into Saturday. We're seeing our area of low pressure move through and some colder air on the backside of it. And that means we could see some onshore flurry activity for the west coast of the island, potentially even some squalls, it looks like. As far as how much snow we see depends on how persistent these squalls or onshore flurries will be, but that's certainly what it's looking like for now. Across eastern portion of the island, though, it'll be a little warmer, and what does fall should fall as some shower activity. We may see some flurries later in the day work its way through central and then eventually eastern Newfoundland. We've got another round of snow for Labrador. This will also come with a little bit of gusty wind through the night on Saturday. But other than that, your temperatures are going to stay around the 1 degree mark, around the 0 to 1 degree mark for the western portion of the island, then between 2 and 5 degrees for the rest of the island across Labrador, -8 for those of you in Lab City. And then the rest of Labrador pretty much hovering near or even a little bit above 0 with the exception of along the strait, where you'll hover around -1 as your afternoon high. Now, as we look ahead to Sunday, looking fairly quiet weather-wise for the eastern half of the island. We should actually see some sunshine through the day, so that's nice, especially for the parade. But for the western portion of the island, again, onshore flurries possible or light snow, so keep that in mind for your Sunday. And then Labrador, quiet weather. You're actually going to see the sunshine for most of the day, but clouds will be on the increase for the west, and then another push of some snow will move in for you. Your daytime highs across Labrador will sit between -6 and -9. Then we really start to get into some of that cooler air. St. Anthony, -4, -1 even in Corner Brook. And then temperatures for the rest of the island will sit between 0 and about +2. Now, as we get into Monday, though, temperatures will warm right back up again, around 7 degrees for St. John's and eastern Newfoundland. In fact, we're looking at some rain. Then Tuesday, dropping back down to -1. So a little bit of a roller coaster ride. We're going to see that through central Newfoundland as well. Now, Monday night, we'll likely see some snow as you see your temperatures drop, and then back down to about -4 for your Tuesday. And then for western Newfoundland, same thing with that roller coaster ride, up to 6 degrees, back down, plummeting Monday night. And then Tuesday, you'll sit around the -2 degree mark. And then for Labrador, overall, look at your temperatures as you get into Tuesday. This is when we'll start to see that Arctic blast of air down to the -20s for your overnight lows, but the sun should shine, so there's that. As far as your the weather photo goes, Deer Lake is where this one's taken. Take a look at that beautiful shot.
Oh, that is stunning.
Nothing better than a calm evening. Thanks, Doug, for that. If you have any weather photos you'd like to share with us, you can send them to Facebook or email them, nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Almost looks like a watercolor a little bit.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, beautiful.
Most of the sunset photos we see could be paintings.
Yes, lovely reflection off the water.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sending that in, and thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us. Hope you can join us again tomorrow.
Good night.